Imagine this. You're standing on a stage, lights scorching your face, hundreds of eyes watching. But there's a problem. You don't know your lines. You don't even know what role you're playing. So, instinctively, you improvise. You pretend. You smile. The audience claps. They seem convinced. And in that applause, in that fragile validation, something strange happens. You begin to believe that the mask you wore was you. That single moment becomes your life. Now imagine decades pass. You've built a persona, a name, a legacy maybe. But one day, alone, somewhere unremarkable, you look into the mirror and feel nothing. Not sorrow, not joy, just static. You see your face, but it doesn't move you. You're not sure who's looking back. Not in the poetic, soul-searching way people describe in self-help books. No, this is deeper. This is existential vertigo. The horrifying suspicion that everything you've called yourself, your preferences, your beliefs, even your pain, was never truly yours. It was armor, costume, a sophisticated defense system shaped by invisible forces, culture, fear, trauma, ambition. And here's the paradox. You've spent your life building a self just to feel safe. But now that it's built, you're trapped inside it, smiling through glass. Ask yourself, what if the person you've become is the greatest barrier to who you actually are? What if your most beloved traits, the ones that get you praise, admiration, acceptance, are the very things chaining you to a version of reality that's no longer alive? This is not a question of confidence. It's a question of authenticity. Because what if the self you show to the world, even the one you think is real and evolved, is still a performance? You might say, but I'm self-aware. You meditate. You journal. You've read the books. You know about the ego. You're past that, are you? Or has the ego simply learned to speak the language of healing? Think about it. Have you ever performed authenticity? Ever curated your vulnerability? Shared your struggles, not because it was truth, but because it would be seen as brave, relatable, real? That's the ego too, just in disguise. So here's the haunting question. What if every step you take to become more yourself is just the ego evolving, growing stronger, more spiritual, more likable, while keeping you subtly enslaved to the need to be someone? And beneath that, what happens when you stop trying? Stop trying to grow. Stop trying to heal. Stop trying to be you. Not because you've given up, but because you finally suspect that the you you've been building was never the real you to begin with. If you paused right now and let that question echo, who am I when I'm not trying to be anything at all? What answer comes? Or is there only silence? And what if that silence is the truth? Section 2. The Hidden Problem and its Psychological Philosophical Origins. There is a reason this trap is almost invisible. Why it hides not only from the world, but from you. The ego, as you've come to know it, isn't just arrogance or pride. That's the caricature. The real ego is far more subtle, ancient, and cunning. It isn't always loud or boastful. It can be humble, wounded, compassionate, even spiritual. It can wear any mask, speak any language, adopt any ideology. Why? Because its core obsession isn't power, pleasure, or peace. Its obsession is identity. And identity is the one addiction we don't call an addiction. Carl Jung warned us, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But what he meant is not just accepting your personality traits, your past mistakes, or your shadows. He meant accepting the raw, unscripted, unfiltered truth of being, without labels, without masks, without narrative. And this is where the ego revolts. Because to the ego, Identity is survival. Section 3. The unseen consequences. There's a peculiar kind of suffering that doesn't scream. It echoes. A low hum that vibrates beneath the surface of your thoughts, behind your smile, under your victories. You can't quite name it, but you feel it, especially in stillness, especially when the noise stops. It's the ache of dissonance between the self you perform and the self you abandoned long ago. This is the consequence of the ego trap, a life lived from the outside in, an existence curated for perception, where the audience becomes more real than the actor. You may still believe you're free, but watch yourself closely. Section 3 continues with cognitive dissonance, neuroscience, and social programming, culminating in the tension that leads to the need for a personal revolt. Section 4. The Rebellion. How to break free. It begins in silence, not the peaceful, meditative kind, the kind that stalks you in the dead hours of the night, the kind that arrives when no one texts back, when the applause fades, when your reflection in the mirror looks unfamiliar. A silence that isn't empty, but accusatory. It whispers, "You've built a masterpiece of yourself, but at what cost?" And that's when the rebellion begins, not with anger, not with clarity, but with an unbearable honesty. You are tired of being you, not tired of living, tired of maintaining, tired of performing your progress, packaging your personality, and rehearsing your authenticity. Tired of curating your suffering and branding your healing. Tired of pretending that any of it brings peace. This section dismantles the illusion of self-improvement as liberation, offering instead a path toward no longer identifying with any self at all. Section 5. The ultimate truth, the deepest realization. There comes a moment, quiet, almost imperceptible, when you realize the battle is over. Not because you won, because you stopped fighting. There is no enemy. There never was. The ego you feared, the mask you wore, the persona you crafted, they were never trying to destroy you. They were trying to protect you from annihilation, from exposure, from the unbearable lightness of being. You sit in a room alone, and for the first time, it doesn't feel like absence. It feels like presence. The silence isn't empty. It's alive. Every breath is a revelation. Every heartbeat is a language. And without fanfare, without epiphany, the realization lands in your body like a quiet meteor. There is no self to find, only life to feel.